first of all, thank you to everyone who has joined and welcome to our webinar. Today we'll be talking about connected TV in Europe. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items that we do want to go over. To begin with, we are more than happy to answer any questions that you might have surrounding the content. So please do feel free to place them in the question areas of the GoToWebinar panel. You should see it just along the side there. We will address any and all questions that you have during a Q&A style following the presentation. If there are by chance any questions that we don't have the opportunity to get to, do not worry, we will follow up with you directly after the webinar. Also, just a note, this webinar is being recorded. So, if you have a colleague or someone that you'd like to send it to afterward, we will send it over to you. So you could also send it to them or rewatch it if you please. So yeah, we will send it over to you guys after the webinar is complete. Amazing. So who will you be hearing from today? You'll be hearing from myself. So my name is Samantha. I'm a manager of client services here in the UK.
Hi everyone, and I'm Khaled. I'm also a manager of client services here in the StackAdapt team in the UK.
Amazing. So for those of you who do not know, StackAdapt is a demand-side platform, a DSP, and today in the presentation we will be covering how StackAdapt as a DSP leverages connected TV as a part of your marketing strategy.
Perfect. So in terms of the agenda, we will go through some points with a focus on connected TV in Europe. So we will start off with the rising importance of connected TV and how it emerged into the digital marketing world. And then we will look into the audience reach through connected TV and also explore some of the available targeting criteria through the channel. And we'll also look at the performance and how we can actually measure performance with launching it as a programmatic campaign. And finally, we will share a few tips and tricks on how to build your connected TV ad strategy. And of course, once we wrap it up, we will have time for some Q&A, as Sam mentioned earlier.
Amazing. So we're going to kick things off by talking about the rising importance of CTV.
So it goes without saying, connected TV is definitely a highly emerging channel into the programmatic world and into digital marketing in general. So according to Magnite, 4 out of 5 households in Europe actually have a connected TV in the household. So that's 80% of families, or 80% of households in Europe have access to a connected TV, which present a really large opportunity from our point of view as advertisers, or from digital marketing point of view, to actually utilize this, especially with the fact that viewers now move very seamlessly between traditional and digital formats, which is very good to see.
Exactly. So to kind of build on that, we're going to talk about video advertising growth areas over the next year. So at the very top, we have augmented reality or virtual reality at 20% growth. Following that, next year, we're seeing a trend of AI coming in around 20.9%. Digital audio at 21.8% in terms of growth. Digital out of home, 29.1%. And also just a fun fact on this, for those of you who do not know, StackAdapt will be launching digital out of home in the coming future. We're not exactly sure on a strong date right now, but it will be coming, so please keep your eye out for that. Following digital out of home, we have addressable TV growth at about 37.3%. And finally, we're seeing growth of 67.3% with connected TV. So obviously that's taking up a very large portion of the growth next year. And so we're very excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into what that means within StackAdapt as well.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, 67% is actually a really high growth number. And to top this up as well, we've seen 85% of connected TV viewers within the European markets are actually watching ad-supported content in one way or another. So this presents a very large volume of inventory for us as advertisers to actually utilize, and for us to be able to reach with the relevant messages and making sure to reach users in the right frame of mind, within the right content, and also with the right message.
Amazing. So we do want to just kind of take a step back and showcase to you, how are these connected TV ads being served? So at the very beginning, we have video on demand. You can think of video on demand as what you're seeing here on this slide. So things like Netflix, Disney Plus, BBC iPlayer. From that video on demand, it then goes into over-the-top advertising, or more commonly referred to as OTT. So those are the streaming vehicles or mechanisms to get the ads to showcase on desktop, mobile web, and then of course, connected TV. So where does connected TV sit and what does that look like exactly? So you could think of things like sports channel, news channel, entertainment channel that you're streaming. How are these channels streamed? They're streamed through devices such as smart TV. So think of, your LG smart TV or your Samsung TV, whatever you might have. In addition to smart TV, we also have set-top box. So, your Amazon Fire Stick or your Roku device or your Apple TV. These are all things that allow us to display those CTV ads. And finally, of course, your gaming console. So if you're utilizing an Xbox or a PlayStation, that's also how our CTV ads are served.
Exactly. So as you can see, CTV campaigns, it's not just purely about the normal streaming through a connected TV, but there are a whole different number of other ways we can reach users through the CTV screen. And unlike social platforms, we've seen CTV audiences actually interact with the ads in a more engaged and focused way. And I think this comes from the fact that we are reaching users while they are in the correct state of mind. So they are already focused, they are already engaged with the screen. And this presents us with a really good opportunity to push our message, especially if it is in the right time, with the right creative messaging, to get them at the right time and make sure that users are engaged and push for the brand awareness and educate users about the advertiser's brand or an upcoming product or an offer and so on. So having said that, that means that the ads themselves need to be delivered in a very relevant and seamless manner to make sure that not only we're reaching users through the right devices, through the right time and through the right inventory, but also we're reaching them with the right message that will actually resonate with the users. And this can have a very high impact, as Sam will mention in the next slide.
Yeah, so CTV ads, as Khaled said, have high levels of attention. And just naturally, those CTV ads are served on your biggest device, typically on your, TV, as mentioned. So with that, we have a 98% of all CTV viewers would be willing to watch the content for free in exchange for watching ads. Additionally, 12.2 seconds is the average viewing time before looking away with CTV ads. That's 3 seconds longer than linear and 5 times longer than YouTube. So within that 12 seconds, that gives us an amazing opportunity to drive that brand awareness home and showcase the ad to a user in a unique format.
Yes, exactly. So 12.2 seconds is actually a really good number to see because it means that we have a really good opportunity to increase brand awareness and deliver our message out there. And according to a research by Magnite, we've seen 72% of users actually take one action or another after watching or after engaging with a connected TV ad. So whether it's users researching or searching about a product advertised after the video exposure, or simply increase word of mouth. So users talking about the ads within the household or with other households, putting the message out there and increasing the brand awareness beyond just the user who have been exposed to the ad, or simply in terms of ad recall. So users actually remembering the message they've seen. And this would prove a very good point about brand education and brand awareness and ensuring that users are aware of the brand, aware of what they offer, and also try to take them to the next step, which is the ultimate goal, especially for retail clients, for users to actually buying the product advertised.
Definitely. So where are audiences watching? Across Europe, countries have different viewing habits, of course, when it comes to selecting a platform and how they consume content. But the average across EMEA tends to be that most viewers are watching both traditional and CTV as a way of consuming their content. I think one thing that we really want to make sure throughout this presentation is we're not necessarily saying that CTV is going to replace all linear TV. What we're saying is currently they work together. They really complement each other. So to better understand where and what we're looking at in terms of this graph, in the bright blue, those are the percentage of users who only watch CTV. In the black, that's people who watch both, and in the orange, that's the traditional people who only consume traditional TV. So you can see quite clearly that most people are consuming both. Specifically, when we look at places like the UK, Spain, Italy, we're seeing really, really high numbers of people who are using both as a way to consume content.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, as you can see, connected TV is a highly important channel within your digital marketing activities or digital marketing plans. And it is a channel that, if used right, can really help your overall efforts and about pushing your brand awareness and also push users to actually take action, whether it's on your website or take action with your product or the actual goal of your campaign. So in the next section, we will look at what kind of audience we can reach and what kind of targeting we can utilize using the DSP when launching a connected TV campaign.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm really excited about this slide because if you've talked to me before, you know that I get very excited about all of the different capabilities that we have when it comes to finding the right audience at the right time, all of that type of thing. So to kick things off, I think the best way to start is talking about frequency capping. And with frequency capping, you're able to really control how often you want that ad to be exposed to the user. You have full control pre-launch the campaign, during the campaign, to update that depending on how your campaign's performing, what that reach and frequency is, or levels of engagement. So unlike linear TV and traditional TV, you can make those real-time optimizations when it comes to controlling the frequency of the users who are consuming the content. Next, we have cross-device and CTV retargeting. So one of the biggest benefits of CTV in my mind is the ability to then use that data to retarget cross-device and capture users who've been previously exposed to a CTV ad and drive them further down the funnel later. So as Khaled has mentioned, and we've mentioned throughout, CTV is a very brand awareness heavy channel, but that does not mean that the impacts and the data that we are able to collect from CTV goes unnoticed. So we're able to capture when users have watched 25, 50, 75, 100% of those CTV ads, and then retarget them maybe with a different CTV ad or video ad based on their brand awareness levels. So for example, maybe in the next ad that they see, we would serve a different ad to someone who's only watched 25% of the first ad they saw versus someone who's completed it in full, because obviously their brand awareness levels are different. So it really does allow us to use that data and really tailor our message depending on those levels of brand awareness. Just skipping back over to cross-device, we're then able to use those audiences to perhaps drive users further down the funnel in the future. So maybe then retargeting everyone who's watched 100% of the ad with a display or native, for example. Similar to frequency capping, time of day and time of week is an amazing tool within CTV because unlike linear TV, it really does allow us to make those real-time optimizations depending on how those users are engaging with the content. So, once we launch the campaign, we can then go in and optimize towards a certain time of the day of the week, and really drive that message home when it is the most applicable time for our target audience to be consuming that content. When it comes to first-party and third-party data within StackAdapt, for those who are not aware, I should say, it is really robust. We're able to do so many amazing different things that are unique to StackAdapt. And the good news is we're able to do all of those things within CTV as well. So anything that you are familiar with that you maybe have run on previous campaigns, we can apply that targeting within CTV. What I will say here is because of the nature of the content, and obviously it's a bit more broad and brand awareness focused, sometimes applying a very, very niche targeting audience is going to really harm our scale. So when it comes to leveraging our first and third party data, of course we can still do it, but our best practice and recommendation is to make it a little bit more broad, just so we're not harming our scale. And finally, lookalike modeling. So just as you can do on any other channel on StackAdapt, we're able to use the lookalike modeling feature within CTV as well. So maybe that's finding users who look similar to those who have already consumed the CTV content, or finding users who look similar to those who've viewed the CTV content and then navigated to the homepage. There's lots of different strategies and things that we can get into, which we'll follow up with in a little bit on a later slide.
Exactly. So I think targeting is the most important thing. So using all the available really cool targeting criteria, this will give you the opportunity to making sure that you reach the right user at the right time, even on the right device and the right frame of mind. But also on top of this, we can also access audiences across a whole different number of CTV channels and inventories, which will create the environment of not only reaching the right user, but having the right message in the right within the right content as well. So you're reaching the user at the perfect time that will resonate with your brand. So through the StackAdapt DSP, we can have access to top apps and streaming services, stuff like things like Discovery Plus or Eurosport, or even Visu, etc., and also access to 100 of different networks, such as Channel 4, CNN, or even Disney, and so on. So within StackAdapt, as a DSP, we have access to really the key supply side platforms or the key ad exchanges, so mainly the Magnite or the Spotex or even some Xandr. But I also wanted to point out the FreeWheel integration. So we currently have an elevated access with the FreeWheel inventory, which would give us more localized and more specified access to localized inventory across a whole different number of European markets. So channels such as Sky or Channel 4 in the UK, or channels such as TF1 in France, and so on and so forth across a whole different number of European markets, which is really good to see. And combining this with the audience targeting will give you a very good opportunity to reach users in the right frame of mind at the right time, and also within the right content. So to deliver your message in the most robust and most impactful way.
Amazing. So we get a lot of questions of, all this sounds great. How can we measure performance? What kind of metrics and KPIs will we get when we run CTV? So we're really excited to dive into that with you. So without further ado, the next session will be performance and measurement with CTV.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if we look at this 5 years ago, attribution through connected TV or conversion tracking through connected TV have been a very mythical question. But luckily, CTV attribution through TV has actually been made possible. So if we look at the left-hand side box in here, so when a user is exposed to a connected TV ad or even an OTT ad, over-the-top ad that Sam explained earlier, we be able to utilize a whole different number of features through the StackAdapt DSP. So as Sam mentioned, we'll be able to retarget users who have completed the video, but also on top of this, we can track on views through conversions. So if we are tracking one specific event, whether it's a form fill, whether it's a purchase completion on the website itself, we'll be able to track when a user actually sees or gets exposed to an ad on the connected TV device as an ad, and then they proceed to go to the website, whether they go organically, directly, or through another channel, and then they end up converting, then we'll be able to see this view through conversion with a specific look back window. And on top of this, we'll be able to control the frequency of the campaign. So I think the frequency, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very, very important one to make sure that we push the ad or get the user to be exposed to the ad the appropriate number of times without having any negative impact on the customer experience, while also making sure that our ad message resonates with the user and making sure to maximize our brand awareness. So in this scenario, for example, a user can be exposed to a connected TV ad and then building a retargeting segment of users finishing or completing a 75%, 100% of the video, and so on. We can then retarget them with another channel. So whether it's a video campaign or maybe supplemented with a display or a native campaign to make sure to push users to the website. As everyone aware, connected TV is not a clickable format. So having this setup will actually help you maximizing the brand awareness through a connected TV, and then also making sure that users record the connected TV ad and possibly push traffic to the site. And then for measurement and attribution, we'll be able to measure site traffic, even measure on-site action using different tracking pixels. And also we can look at brand lift studies as well to truly measure the impact of users seeing the connected TV ad.
Yeah, of course. So just adding on to this a little bit, Khaled's covered some of it, but essentially what we want to really drive home is the ability to measure conversions and engagements and the type of metrics that you'd be able to receive with CTV. So with CTV, as Khaled mentioned, we are able to place the StackAdapt Universal Pixel on site. So for any of those who are currently running campaigns with StackAdapt, you definitely have heard one of us talk about the Universal Pixel. The Universal Pixel, just in short, will allow you to track conversions, measure time on site, create retargeting and lookalike audiences. So with CTV, we're still able to place that pixel on site. The benefit of placing that pixel on site is then we can do things like Khaled mentioned. So one strategy that we do recommend is placing what we call a soft conversion and capturing anyone who's viewed a CTV ad and then navigated to the site within that look back window. That will allow us just to drive home the levels of engagement and allow us to better optimize those campaigns. So what are some of the metrics that we get for CTV? They would be, of course, impressions, cost, CPCV, so cost per completed view, video completion rate, unique device breakdown. So just as a little reminder, that unique device breakdown is what I mentioned earlier. So smart TVs, set-top box, and gaming consoles were able to break down what device they were streaming CTV on. And then, of course, view through conversion. So whether that be a soft conversion, as I just mentioned, of Siteland, or as Khaled was saying earlier, we are able to place those primary conversions that you might be working towards within your CTV campaigns as well. But again, CTV is very much a brand awareness focused channel, but we are able to track those who would want to.
Exactly. So as Sam mentioned, CTV is a brand awareness focused channel, so it is top funnel. And this will gives us a really good opportunity as well to think beyond the conversion, whether it's a soft conversion or a primary conversion, and actually understand the impact of our connected TV ads on the users. So this can be done by launching a StackAdapt brand lift study. So the brand lift study gives you a really good opportunity to reach users who have been exposed to your ads. So on the left-hand side, this will be the exposed users who have seen your ads and engaged with it. And on the right-hand side, be able to also reach control group, which are users who have not been exposed to the ad. So the way the brand lift study will work is to give us the opportunity to simply ask the client or ask the user the questions relevant to the actual brand, whether they have ad recall or purchase intent or any other aspects of the brand lift study. So the brand lift study will give us a clear idea whether our ads, users being exposed to the ad, whether it created a positive lift or a negative lift, which can really inform your wider marketing efforts and really inform your next steps with your campaign. So if it is, for example, a negative lift, then this can clearly show that the ads have not resonated with the users and can really inform your creative messaging, your targeting messaging, to make sure that we are always optimizing it towards better performance and towards making sure that they are resonating with the users. Or if it is a positive lift, which is always good to see, it means that it has done its job and make sure that we have created a lift with the users, and we can also inform this into the next steps for the campaigns.
Amazing. So that is a great segue into our last topic, which is building your CTV strategy.
Perfect. So building a CTV strategy, I think the main thing to mention that CTV falls as a part of your wider marketing mix. So the first step to do in here, or just simply to get things started from StackAdapt point of view, is understanding what viewers of linear TV, what kind of specific shows or channels they are watching. And we can then capture these users, we capture these audiences via our partners' custom segments. So we can build customized segments to make sure that we are reaching the correct households or correct users with the relevant message, which will come to the third part of retargeting this audience with the relevant ads to StackAdapt.
Exactly. So how do we define our target audience? So, earlier I did mention that we're able to use all of the same, targeting that we are on any other campaign. But what we really want to look at here when it comes to CTV is those demographics. So this could include your audience's age, location, and income. Next, we really want to look at what their interests are. So we want to think a little bit more broadly about the audience and consider what they might be looking for at that time. So whether that's personal goals, desires, family lives, whatever that might be, we really want to take a look and have a deep understanding as to what those interests are when we're applying our targeting and understanding what our target audience is for these CTV ads. And lastly, purchase behavior. So with CTV, it is critical for us to think full funnel, right? Even though CTV is a brand awareness focused channel, what we'll want to be doing is thinking, what do these audience members need to know, or these users need to know before they're ready to make a purchase decision or convert or whatever we might be wanting them to drive to do? What information do they need to know? And in order to really get that to be the most impactful ad, how can we answer those questions in a very unique, informative format like CTV? So the great thing about CTV is, yes, it is at the top of the funnel, but if done correctly, that will very much drive that purchase behavior by providing very informative content through a CTV ad.
Exactly. And also, on top of deciding what audiences we'll be targeting, so making sure that we're reaching the right users, it's also important to decide both the ad inventory and the creative messages. And I think in here, relevance is key. So we need to make sure that the ad is 100% relevant to the users we're targeting, to make sure that it is something that will resonate with the users, but also relevant to the actual ad inventory that we will serve on. So whether it's like things like Samsung TV Plus or Discovery Plus and so on, to make sure that we are serving on the right environment and making sure that users are in the correct state of mind and they are ready to actually engage with the creator.
Amazing. I think just to add to that as well, one thing that I like to say when it comes to, that purchase behavior or, just brand awareness focused channels to begin with is, in order for people to purchase, they need to understand the full story. So when looking at the metrics, of course, we're going to want to understand what the main objectives are. So is that impressions delivered, view through conversions, video completion rate, frequency? What are the metrics that we need to, deem CTV ads applicable? But on top of that, very similar to what Cal and I were just saying in the previous slides is even though CTV is a brand awareness focused channel, we want to understand that full picture when looking at these metrics. So one thing, an analogy that could be used is, for example, no one starts a movie halfway through and then likes the ending, right? You need to understand the full story in order for these metrics and others to be extremely applicable. So that's very similar to those lower converting channels. In order to get people to convert, we need to show them the beginning. We need to build that brand awareness through something like CTV, because ultimately, no one's going to have strong brand awareness and be wanting to convert when they come in halfway through and they don't understand the full picture.
Yes, exactly. And I think this really correlates with where CTV actually falls in the purchase funnel. So as mentioned earlier, I think Sam mentioned earlier that CTV, we're not saying that CTV should come in here to actually replace your linear TV campaigns or should it replace any other stages of your campaigns, but rather it has a place within your purchase funnel or within your customer funnel that can be utilized in a good way. And if it is utilized efficiently, then making sure that we are also always pushing users down the funnel. So within the funnel, linear TV will always be on top. So linear TV is a very strong tool to put the brand out there, to make sure that all the households, so if we look at the right-hand side for linear TV, so all the households actually get an exposure to the brand. They are educated about the brand name. While it's slightly lower down this funnel, still fairly high, so connected TV will be slightly lower than the linear TV, and this is the opportunity to supplement your linear TV message to the relevant user. So we're making sure that we're reaching the correct household with the ad, with your video ad, to make sure it is resonating and it stays top of mind with the users as a brand awareness piece. But also looking at the further down the funnel, which Sam will take us through.
Yeah, so exactly. So CTV is a component to digital. So CTV is awareness, and the rest of it is, further down the funnel. And I think ultimately it goes back to what we were just saying a minute ago, is how we need everything in order for it to work correctly. So in order to have that cost efficiency and reach, we do need that engaged audience. And that's when you're going to get the most cost efficient and reach, is when those users are engaged, they have strong brand awareness, they want to be there, they want to be consuming your ads. In order to do that, we need to really create a strong brand awareness push. And that can be done through something like CTV. So definitely CTV is just they just work together, and yeah, ultimately drive users further down the funnel.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the key point when designing a connected TV strategy is to think really hard about the customer journey. And I think this point in the strategy is not just for connected TV, that really goes for any part of your marketing funnel, is to really understand how this ad will actually impact the user and which stage of your customer journey will be affected and hopefully improved by launching this ad. So from connected TV, for example, from connected TV side of things, for example, users completing an ad, a viewable ad on a household device. So we are sure that users have exposed to the ad and have been fairly engaged with it, possibly watched 100% or 75% of the ad. So we know that they have got the creative message. And then if the user visits the website later on, whether they actually go to the website organically or directly, then what do we expect them to do on the site? So eventually, for example, for a retail client or for a retail website, hopefully completing a verified visit or possibly completing a purchase. But I think the key point in here is customer journey should always be the top priority when designing your connected TV strategy, and how it actually fits with all your other marketing efforts, and it should not be launched in silo or launched as a standalone strategy. As Sam mentioned, having the right customer journey, making sure that users have the correct story, having the correct brand perception will play a major factor into pushing them to complete the goal that you would like them to complete and maximize your brand awareness.
Definitely. So, to wrap up, we do just want to kind of reiterate that CTV is continuously growing within Europe with high engagement rates with viewers. Advertisers are seeing a positive impact on leveraging CTV with cross-channel strategies combined. CTV allows for precise audience targeting across multiple streaming apps and networks, allowing you to reach your ideal audience. And I like to think the most important part of this whole presentation is, when using CTV, is to consider your entire funnel and where CTV plays a role in the customer journey. And that's by understanding the audience, deciding on the right inventory, and measuring appropriate metrics. I think if we do all of these things, everyone's CTV ads will be a great success. It's just understanding where CTV fits within your overall marketing strategy and how CTV will complement your lower funnel channels as well. with that, we would love to open it up to any questions. So like I mentioned earlier, there is a little questions box along the right-hand side. You should see it there. So please do feel free to ask any and all questions. We'll just wait a minute for the questions to kind of come in. And like I said, if we don't get to your question, we can follow up with you directly. Okay, amazing. We do have one question in that is asking, can you advertise across all geos with CTV, or is it limited to a certain set of European countries? So the good news is all European geos are available, but scale may differ per market and per adoption of CTV. So we will follow up with you directly in terms of, you know, if there is a specific market. But yeah, the good news is it is available within all European geos. Okay. How would you recommend identifying what our target audience is running in linear TV? Are there tools that StackAdapt has to help us with this, especially if the brand has not run linear TV in the past? So in terms of where they would run linear TV if they've never run linear TV and where that target market sits, I think the best thing to do there, and we could definitely help identify that based on, you know, the current targeting that maybe you're running with StackAdapt or through conversations that we've had with you. So most definitely there are things that we could do to help and how we can identify that, but we will follow up with you directly just so yeah, we can kind of speak to more of the specifics.
So I think the key answer here is actually utilizing the StackAdapt audiences solutions to make sure that we are reaching the correct audience. And also we can relate this to the actual persona that from any previous research that you had with regards to what kind of persona that will resonate further with your ads. So it's not strictly what kind of linear TV user that will interact with the ad and then we will target them with a connected TV ad, but rather understanding who the user is and then using all the StackAdapt targeting capabilities, whether it's custom segments, browsing segments, even like contextual browsing segments or custom segments, or even using third-party segments to make sure that we're reaching the user in the right time. I'm not sure if this answers your question, but please let me know if you have any follow-ups, or we can take this offline as well if you would like to discuss further. I think we have other questions as well. So I think one of the questions is whether users can click through the ads. So connected TV generally is not a clickable format. We can actually look into adding some sort of a QR code onto the creative ad that leads to a landing page. So if that's something that you're looking into, you can always reach out to us and we can explore possibilities around testing this sort of format. But generally speaking, connected TV is about pushing the brand awareness and it's not a clickable format.
Yeah, we have another question as well. What budgets would you recommend for CTV? So there are no strict minimums, but we do recommend investing around 5 to 10K in the initial test just to gain significance and allow us to showcase enough data and bring enough brand awareness.
Also, with regards to the geo questions, there is a question: is Switzerland also part of the geos included in EU? Yes, we do have the inventory in Switzerland as well. We can also look into the actual scale in the market, but generally speaking, it's definitely included in our inventory.
One question is, can you share examples of ads in pseudo? Of course we can. We have some marketing materials and things like that that we can send over that will showcase what those ads look like.
And there is another question: is video the only format? I believe it is. So the main format that we are pushing through the connected TV is the video format. It can go up to 60 seconds as a length of the video, but we recommend anything between 15 to 30 seconds, relating back to the idea that users are actually engaged or more engaged with the first 12.2 seconds of the videos. But to answer your question, the main format is the video through connected TV.
Can we use existing video creatives for CTV? And can you retarget viewers? For sure we can. We can use up to 1 minute videos. So with video, you can, have maybe a video that's 1 minute and 30 seconds, for example. With CTV, we can only run them for up to 1 minute. So as long as your video is 60 seconds or under, you can most definitely repurpose them. But just a note, the 15 to 30-second videos are recommended, as we typically see the best levels of engagements with those. And with just in terms of like formatting and things like that, of course we can still use the 16:9 aspect ratio, and fast tags are accepted for CTV as well. And yes, of course, I hope I made you excited, because the retargeting viewers is one of my favorite features, so we can definitely do that.
Amazing. Another question here as well. Given the tight inventory in the CTV space, how can an advertiser secure inventory at an affordable CPM? I think that's actually a really good question. So generally speaking, as you mentioned, CTV CPMs are quite competitive. So I think ultimately, it goes towards making sure that we're reaching the right user and utilizing the budget we have in the most efficient way. So there are steps we can take in terms of like bidding slightly less on your connected TV inventory and so on. However, it may be more applicable or more impactful at understanding the actual cost per completed view and how much we're actually paying towards users seeing 100% of the video and actually engaging with the video. I think to follow up on this question, we can also take it offline, but there are steps we can look into slightly bidding less on CPM basis and making sure that we are, rather than targeting across all different exchanges or across all different channels, to make sure that we're only focusing on the most relevant inventory. This may increase your CPM slightly, but the actual return can be more impactful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then another question is, are the CTV reporting analytics delivered in real time? And yes, they are. The reporting features work the exact same as any other channel. You'd be able to see them, quite shortly after your campaign is launched, and once that data starts to filter through, everything is updated in real time, just as any other channel. How broad is the reach across CTV within Europe? So quite simply, the reach is fairly broad. Most European countries, specifically after our freewheel integration, we have great reach within. But we can look at specific reach per country if needed. So we will follow up with you after and see if there's any more specifics that we can dive into. But yeah, reach is looking good across the board. Amazing. I think that's all that we're seeing for questions right now. If anyone has any additional questions or anything like that, obviously feel free to put them in the chat. If not, please feel free to reach out to either Khaled or myself directly. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have, or your dedicated account manager or sales manager. But without further ado, I think that does conclude today's webinar. So thank you all for attending. I hope you all found it informative and insightful. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this call, we will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording to everyone who has registered. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any other questions that you might have. Again, we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. Maybe you're thinking about it next week and something comes up, so please do feel free to reach out to us whenever. And thanks again so much for joining us, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day.